All right. Okay, so we're going to start our meeting. Today's the Board of Selectmen meeting of November 21st. I'll start with a roll call. Myself, Bob Carlson, the first selectman, also Selectman Brett Mastriani and Selectwoman Nicole Porter. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Liberty, justice for all.
Oh my God. I guess you did fix them. I can sit back here. So we have minutes. Nicole, will you read the minutes or motion for the minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Town of North Stonington Board of Selectmen meetings minutes held on November 14th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. in the North Stonington Education Center and via Zoom as written.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion with the first and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Well, no offense, Judy, but we will now be able to hear the Board of Education minutes meetings because. Thank you, Brett. Selectmen comments. So typically it says when the other two selectmen speak. I have my own line item after this, but I did want to make note. I wish we had more people here, but we had a little cake this afternoon for Christine. It's her last days tomorrow, but this is her last Board of Selectmen meeting. We tried to figure out how many. If I don't count Board of Finance and all the other meetings she attended, we think somewhere around 150 Board of Selectmen meetings, counting town meetings and our meetings. So this is the last one. It's sad for me because now I'm not going to be able to look to my right and get the answer. So there's been a lot of times over the past 2 years being new that I might have stumbled or not had the answer. And all I had to do was go like this. And then 99% of the time there was an answer coming back. So she made me look good. And I appreciate that so much. Good luck to you in your new job. Going back to the University of Rhode Island to hang out with the kids some more. You've had enough time with the adults, so now you go back with the kids. And Christine, I can't thank you enough. You've done a fantastic job. Again, we had a cake today with the entire town hall, highway garage people were there. And it was, I think she actually broke down a bit. And I'm trying not to make you do it now. The only reason she's on camera, and she hates to be on camera, is her mom and dad come from New Jersey. And they watch most of our meetings. And she's usually just a voice from off the screen. So her mom and dad are coming for Thanksgiving. I think they're in town now. And I said, you have to be on camera for at least the beginning so they can see that there's actually a body that goes with that voice. So you can switch off camera in a minute. Not yet. But I just want to say, Christine, thank you very much. Don't worry, you have no speaking parts anytime soon. Okay. I got to say goodbye again tomorrow, which is going to be another killer. But thank you for applauding this wonderful person. First, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, I'm good, but thank you, Christine. We appreciate all the work you've done, all the information you've given us throughout the years, and we'll miss you.
Okay. So, and Nicole, you had your moment last. You've got a lot of hugs already in the last today. So, first selectman correspondence. There was a last year, myself and my wife went to the Master Pequot. They have a holiday reception at Foxwoods. I'm not going to be able to go this year. I will offer it to either of you. If you'd like to go, let me know. I'll give you the flyer. You just have to call. It's on Wednesday evening, December 13th. It's a first class event. It's wonderful, but I can't go. So if you and your husband or you and your wife want to go, or you all want to go, I'll leave this flyer and you can take care of that if you'd like to. It was a nice event last year.
Bob, I just want to, we did skip public comments on non-agenda items. I don't know if we want to.
So we did,
back to that.
and I apologize for that. I wanted to get to that Christine part, I
Yeah.
guess. So,
Definitely.
Is there any public comment on non-agenda items? And of course, as you know, when we have agenda items, you can speak during while we're discussing them also. But if there's nothing on non-agenda items, we'll move along. But if there is, now's your time. Nothing? Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about the 824 review results at Winter Jog Hill project that KNSA proposed. Okay, so we all were at that meeting actually on that Thursday evening, the night before Veterans Day. And I advocated for this plan to move forward to at least a town meeting. And then the vote did not go as KNSA had hoped. And the next day when I was blowing leaves for about 4 hours, I could not get the meeting out of my mind. And I thought, I started thinking about all we've heard in the last 6 months. And I thought maybe I should go in the house and write this down. I wrote down a letter to you both, which I said, don't reply to. But I wanted to give you my thoughts on where I stood on this. So when I thought about what we've heard over the last 6 months, there was two main arguments I thought that supported this project. One was the town of North Stonington needs additional affordable housing. I think most people agree with that. Not everybody, but I think the majority agree that we do need affordable housing. The state agrees with it, the governor agrees with it, and he said it's going to be one of his most important things over the next 3 years. The second reason why I thought this project made sense was that it's on town-owned property. They're proposed to be on town-owned property, and we know that town-owned property it could be the most reasonably priced property because the town could say we could give it to them at a low number, we could give it to them for free, for $1, whatever it happened to be. So it hit those two boxes. We need affordable housing, and the property is fairly inexpensive, or could be. So then I started writing down the reasons why I was not comfortable with this project. And I came up with 15 reasons why. And I'm going to read some of them to you now. So number one, the town rejected 2 previous efforts to build affordable housing at or near this location. Once at a town meeting, followed by another vote, a no vote at a referendum. Number 2, the cost of the town to hold a referendum from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. is approximately $2,500. Number 3, Planning and Zoning Commission recently voted no twice on an 8-24 review requested by the Board of Selectmen concerning this property. Once on selling the property to a previous owner on November 9th, on November 9th, leasing the property to affordable housing. For affordable housing, the Board of Selectmen should consider and respect these decisions. Number 4, KNSA has not established a track record of starting and completing a project. They currently have 2 projects that are sitting at a standstill. The first is land on Clocks Falls that was sold to KNSA for approximately 6 years ago for $1. And the town has spent over $7,000 to help lift a deed restriction that prevented KNSA from turning this property into a residence. The second property on Charlotte Lane has been given to the KNSA as a gift over 2 years ago. Neither project has advanced. Number 5, giving town-owned land away removes it from consideration and removes it from being considered open space, someone that our Conservation Commission, chaired by Bill Ricker, continually advocates for. Number 6, speaking of the Conservation Commission, they also advocate for money to be added to the land acquisition fund that can be found in our town budget each year. This fund exists for the town to purchase land for open space or other specific uses if it should become available. In this instance, the town would actually be giving land away. Number 7, there's a question on how the Winter Jog area will look in the next few years. We know that already our transfer station is on that road. A new winery, Greystone, has been approved by the P&Z. Firefly Farms is up for sale, and depending on that outcome, it could cause immediate area to look very differently. And I think if we look at our town of North Stonington and you pick one spot in town that could be the most different in the next 5 years, it's Winter Jog Hill because of what could happen. But the big thing that could happen, I didn't mention yet, number 8, the Eastern Pequots have petitioned for federal government to recognize them again. If that succeeds, then everything could change up in that area. Number 9, due to the arguments 7 and 8, additional traffic on Winter Jog Hill Road is also a concern. Number 10, after 6 months of multiple discussions, I have never left a meeting with a feeling that this project would be supported by the majority of voters. Number 11, KNSA president has admitted to me on more than one occasion that getting this project to town meeting is only the first hurdle of many to come. 12, residents have brought up concerns about the remote location as well as the proximity to the town transfer station. 13, the abutting neighbors have voiced their opinions about this project at multiple meetings. Many of them have been in opposition. Number 14, this project gets built. The town still is well under the 10% guidelines put forth by the state and susceptible to an undesirable 8-30G project proposed by a developer. And number 15, having this land tied up for approximately 2 years for $1 may be not be fiscally responsible, with many changes that could occur in the Winchog Hill area over that time may impact the value of the town-owned property. So in my conclusion, understanding that even though I am the first selectman, I have only I'm 1/3 of our board. I have but one vote. Due to the 15 points of opposition that I've listed above, and then that I think that we have given ample time for discussion, I've decided that I will not support this effort moving forward. There are so many unanswered questions and possible changes coming to that part of town that are out of our control. I'm trying to do my best to respect all town residents with my decision. Sincerely, Bob Carlson. So that's where I stand on this project, and I'll be open up for discussion.
Can you just remind me the price, the cost for a town meeting and a referendum? Was it 2,500?
I don't know about a town meeting, but referendum is roughly $2,500.
So 2,500 for a referendum. And then I just need kind of some clarification on points of order. So P and Z has declined and not approved moving forward. So what legal next steps do we or KNSA have to overrule or
I can tell you from the Board of Selectmen, so we can deny, we don't have to push it forward. We are the board that pushes things to town meeting. We call for town meetings. No one else has that ability. So we would call for a town meeting if we choose to. Since Robert A. Carlson, as the first selectman, went to the Board of P and Z with the 830G review request, I can withdraw that request.
and by withdrawing that, they're them declining to move it forward is then just null and void if you're withdrawing the application. And then would the legal next step be bringing it to a town meeting and then possibly a referendum? And we have,
By who?
well, that's what I'm,
So we could end this, I could end this night with a vote of 3-0, 2-1. If I had a vote of 1-2,
Yeah.
I would lose. So that we can stop it now. Anybody can come back to the Board of Selectmen at a different date, at a different time with a proposal. At this particular time, this proposal, I think with so much happening on Winterchuck Hill over the next 2 to 4 years, I just don't think it's prudent for us as a town to move affordable housing there with so many questions that have to be answered by the Eastern People Act decision, by the Firefly sale, how much traffic is going to be going to the new winery. And we already know there's traffic going to the transfer station. So I mean, that's a traffic concern for mine. It's and I don't think there's anywhere in North Snowing that's going to change more in the next 5 years than Winterchuck Hill.
yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. Brett, do you have comments after Brett's comments? I would just like to hear what KNSA has planned for next steps, seeing it was not approved at P and Z.
Yeah, I agree with Bob on a lot of his comments in that letter. And I haven't been a fan of this location from the start, but I do think that we need to do something with affordable housing and we need to make it a priority, at least if we can during this administration and moving forward to work on a solution that complements the town and benefits the residents. And I think if this is where this dies on the Winterchuck property, that we have to commit to trying to find a location that actually works and everyone, I won't say everyone, but a majority of the residents can get on board with and help see that through. But regarding anything different than what Bob stated during here, I really don't have anything. And based on what I read, I think 2/3 of us would have to vote to overturn that from planning and zoning. And I don't think I'd be in support of that. We didn't look to do it after the sale. When we sent over the sale of the property and it came back with the same results. Actually, at that time, I didn't even know we could overturn that with a vote, but I wouldn't be in favor of doing that at this time.
Sure, I don't mind taking comment. We can take to public comment if you want to give it to us. It's on. I think it's just not close enough.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. All right, I bet you know what I'm gonna say. You've heard it before, but I'll run over it quickly just to have a rebuttal, if you want, if you will. Not that I expect it to change anybody's minds, but who knows? It's another opportunity to say what we've been trying to say. Many of the things that you pointed out, Bob, it's too remote, it's too far away, not close enough to emergency services. That's what I've heard.
I didn't say that one.
Well, you didn't say that, but that's what I've heard from other people too. So it'll be not just you, but other people. And as you know, I live further away from emergency services. All of those that are on the east side of town live farther away. Not close to public transportation, or Stonington has no public transportation. 95% of the people in New London County own a car. And so public transportation is not an issue. These apartments would be occupied. These are just things that you can keep in your mind. By people earning up to $90,000 for a family of four, that would be at 80% AMI, or 68,000, that's 60% of AMI. These are working people with cars, young professionals, teachers, librarians, nurses. These are all people we need in our community. It would overload our school system. Study by SECHA, Southeastern Connecticut Affordable Housing Council, has said on a study done by Rutgers University that at an average, let's say average two-bedroom apartments, these would be just averaging it out between the 1-bedroom and the 3-bedroom. You could expect 3.5 children for every 10. So we're talking about 10 units. So we're talking maybe about 7 or 8 kids. And I'd like to point out a point that has not been made before. A lot of people think, well, we've got developments that are under A30G that contain 30% of affordable units. If you do the math, it would take a development of 80 homes to come up with the 24 deed restricted affordable units. 80 homes. What do you think that would do? A development like that, or partial development of that number, would do to our town in terms of the services required. And it would still not get us any more than this small 24 unit apartment. Think of that, 80 homes. And I always think of the environmental cost of that. 80 homes, half an acre, 2 acres. How many acres of our town do we want eaten up with a development? I mean, we really have to think about it. We prize our farmland. That's maybe a farm. I would like to point out what you have also you have a local nonprofit that's ready to respond to an RFP. I often hold up Hope Partnership from Old Saybrook. Their first project was on town-owned land that was given to them. And they developed Ferry Crossing, which is probably the most lovely and preeminent development. I hope you all get to see it, because that's what a local nonprofit in Old Saybrook was able to do with town-owned land that was given to them, a brownfield. And to say that couldn't be us, I don't think is realistic. That could be us. Where have we done, what have we done with our properties? Property that was given to us, we've had a lot of legal that's had to be done. I know the town says they paid 7,000. I'd hate to count up the number of hours that our attorney put in. And our attorney was lead in getting that deed restriction lifted on the Clarks Falls schoolhouse. So when I hear you say, oh, the town spent 7,000, I'd hate to think of the number of billable hours that our attorney put in. So that doesn't, that always just kind of irks me. What have we done with the other property given to us? We had to, again, legal work to get access. There was no deeded access to that. We had to establish access. We've had surveyed, perked, and subdivided. Think of the cost and the legal expense we've gone through there. So when you say we've done nothing, we have done a lot. It's not a house or houses on that property, but it's ready. When it's ready to, when the state wishes to again fund owner-occupied homes, we're ready. We're shovel ready. Now, of course, with the state of Connecticut recognizing the need for affordable homes, we are in a position to take advantage of that. And we would be in a position, even with their favorably looking on apartment units, we would be in a very good position to get some grants. Lastly, are we afraid of the other? The other is us. We are the people that need that housing. The old people, the young people, the teachers, that's who North Stonington is. It's a very working class town with household median income, 84,000. Renter median income, 37,000. That's us. We've heard the phrase over and over and over again from you selectmen. Let the people of North Stonington. The people of North Stonington are not the three of you. They are not the four of the Planning and Zoning Committee. So we would wish that your actions, your deeds, would match your words. You have often said, let the people of the town decide. And that's what we're saying. And we're willing to do the work and put forth the education to hopefully have that referendum passed. That would be for us to have that. I'm reminding, it's 10 acres out of 90. And be careful if the tribe does get recognized. In many people's minds, that's a good thing. They're going to come with lots of dollars and they're going to buy. But think of also the possibility of them taking that land if it's not developed and not paying anything for it. So what have you done? You've lost the land and you have not won any affordable housing. So let your deeds match your words and vote for this go through to the people of North Stonington.
I mean, if you got a second, I just want to rebut some of what you said. So I never mentioned in my 15 comments about school. So that was not an argument. I don't think it affects us. I've heard the argument.
But that's what I've heard.
Secondly, I applaud you for your conviction and how hard you've worked on this. And I agree. We have said, let the people decide. We've been hearing this for now 6 months. It's been on multiple Board of Selectmen meetings. It's been on planning and zoning meetings. It's been recorded meetings that people have a chance to see. I've never left a meeting with a feeling that the town supported this. I've had KNSA people support it, but most of the people that were not on KNSA weren't in support. The thing is too, is I think we're doing the residents a disservice with so many things that we don't know what's going to happen in that area. So it's not that it's a bad project. I think it's because of what's happening in that area. If we didn't have a winery going in, if we didn't have the Firefly Farm up for sale, and we didn't have the Eastern Pequots looking to get recognized, the project would be a lot more desirable than it is now. But how can we, as leaders of the town, put our residents in this position without knowing all the unknown that's going to happen? And I know in the next 5 years, that's the part of town that's going to change the most. It could change the most.
And how do you see, Bob, let me ask you a question. How do you see this as being something that you would not want? Well, no, irregardless of what else is going to go up on that part of the town.
Because we know there's going to be traffic issues. If all that or any of that goes through, it's going to create more traffic on a back road in North Stonington and Winterchuck Hill. It'd be like if that was on Wyosop Road and we had all those things planned for Wyosop, that road would change also. So because it's what we don't know, Marianne, it's not a bad project. And I give you all the credit in your group, all the credit for us getting behind this project and working so hard and diligently to get this through for the second time. I just think that it's because we've been listening to it for 6 months and you've done so much work and you just told us about all the work you've done on East Clocks Falls and on Trolley Lane, all that work. Why do I want to have you do even additional work only to find out that it's not going to fly? If it goes to referendum and gets turned down, you've done all this extra work for 18 to 24 months for nothing.
Well, Bob, why do we all try to do the thing we feel is the best thing to do and the best thing for our town? Is it because we're assured of victory? No, it's fighting the good fight. That's what
you certainly do that, Marion. You are wonderful when it comes to when you decide that there's something that you get behind it, and I applaud you for that. Both you, Bill, other people in our town that do these things, they're wonderful that we have these people that are willing to do this. I just think this particular project at this time in that part of town is not something I can support because of the fact that there's so much unknowns. Now, I've listened to what you said. A lot of it's what we've heard over the last 6 months. We're not going to hear anything different. There's nothing else that, as you said a couple of things today we haven't heard before, but we kind of have. So I don't know what can come in unless we say the winery decided not to open, the Firefly is not going to sell, and the Eastern Pequots get turned down. I don't know what else is going to be different.
Yeah, I don't see any of those things as being incompatible. Yeah, okay, maybe the road's gonna have to be widened because of those other things. Maybe because we have the winery, maybe because Firefly is gonna be sold. Maybe they're gonna put in a big development. I don't know. But why would affordable housing be a negative, even if all of those other things happen? We're talking a small development, 24 on 10 acres.
Would you be
Clustered development, which will not use up our valuable land.
one question for you? If this project exactly as designed right now was not affordable, was just housing, not affordable housing, just housing, would you be supporting it?
Well,
Not affordable housing.
I think clustered housing is so much more environmentally appropriate. Clustered housing rather than, as we have 2-acre zoning, R80 zoning, all of that. That is such a what can I say? It gobbles up our land that could be used for open space. It gobbles up land that could be used for farms. I think one of our farms sells and it turns into a development. You know, we don't have those vistas anymore. I can't, because that now becomes private property as it is now. I can't walk on that land. So we need land that's open for our farms or continues to be farmed. And we need land that is open space so that clustered housing, the people in clustered housing have land that they can appreciate and walk on and claim as part of their town citizenship. So when I think of, you know, an 80 acres, or I mean, 80 unit development to give us under 830G, only the same number of deed restricted affordable units. It is just so environmentally unappropriate. You know.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else like to speak? Bill, then Brian. Yeah, Marion, that was, and I appreciate because you're the chairman, but if we could have maybe I come a little bit shorter at this point, but Marion, you're the chairman. I gave you as much time as you needed. So thank you. Bill.
Bill Ricker, Wyasett Road. So it's come down to this. Essentially one vote. You have a 7-member planning and zoning. You had 4 members present, 3 were not present. The vote was 2-1-1, 1 abstaining. So therefore it came down to one vote. And your decision is based on the fact that in order to override that, you gave your 15 points. Well, I was to start my comments with the following, Bob. However, the first selectman has repeatedly assured us, even if the vote was contrary, he would vote to move it to a town meeting and referendum, as that would be the fair way to determine the will of the public. And we agreed. And we stated we agreed. It's with profound disappointment that I hear these 15 points, some of which are erroneous, number 3, 4, and 7, where you bring up the trolley lane and Clark Falls. Have you not heard the arguments given in the past about why they have not reached fruition and become affordable yet? Have you not heard those arguments? The amount of time it took to go to the Attorney General and turn around the deed on Clark Falls? Okay, but you included in your 15 points. Brett, you have consistently said you're supportive of affordable housing, and I take you at your word. And you have consistently said, but not there. I understand that. But we have continued to ask, then where? If you are supportive of affordable housing, and if you cannot be looking for, searching as a priority, you say, then where do we go from here? There is not land that is going to fall in our laps. The Pequot petition, if they get federal recognition, here is a point that has not been brought up in the past that you haven't considered. Once a tribe gets recognition, they may be able to claim the land as formerly occupied by their ancestors and absorb the land without recompense to the town. This was recently shared to us by Julie Savin of Echo. However, if that land were developed, it could not be occupied by the tribe. So this hopefulness on the part of the town that if the tribe gets recognition that they've been after for 10 years, if this comes about, and I hope it does, I hope these indigenous folks get the land as a reservation, tribal land that they deserve, that was once taken away from them by our ancestors. I hope they do get it. But if we had 8 or 10 acres of that 108 acres already for affordable housing, it could not be annexed by them. A point not previously known by us or by you. Well, sure, Mary Ann and her committee has put in thousands of hours. It has been thousands of hours. That's not any reason for you to change your mind. But it is a reason why a person, a committee made up of members in this town have no other ulterior motive than to provide affordable housing under our control, under our planning and zoning regulations, so a predator doesn't see we only have 1.2% and they'll come in and override everything. You didn't bring that up as point number 16, Bob.
I just want to say, we do, Bob initially stated that we gave Mary Ann extra time.
I'll step down. Thank you.
We have 2 minutes on our
Okay,
public comment.
I abide by your wish.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian, we're gonna hold you to the same thing. You've got no longer than Mr. Rick ahead.
Shouldn't take too long. Brian Rathbun, 263 Grindstone Hill Road. The affordable housing has been, the state put it in effect around 1990. And there's been many towns, you've heard me say before, haven't been able to abide by them, supposedly 10%. Well, I do believe that they finally figured out that since their plan wasn't working for the state, they're going to try a new approach. They made a new committee. And of course, the holidays coming, there's not going to be any report until around January of 2024. I think it'd be wise for the town to wait to see what the new rules, if there's new rules. What I've been reading so far, because I've been following it, they've been putting a lot of money into the big cities and trying to redo the big mills that are empty for rental properties. And I'm not sure if they're going to sell or whatever they're going to do. But anyways, that's the first part of it I've heard. So there might be some hope for our town where maybe we can have an exemption because we are an agricultural town. I think, if anything, we should push our legislators to seek that. Out of 169 towns, you heard me say it before, I think there's only 30 some odd towns that could comply. And some of them had moratorium, and some of them lost the moratorium because after 4 years, they had no more. So it's not only our town that's in a problem with affordable housing. The other niche to the whole thing, I've been trying to find out who controls who goes into these affordable houses. I get no answers. I've written to the state, I looked online, I looked everywhere. I can't find no answers for that. So I think it's wise if we turn this project down right now, not build a lot more houses right now, we may be able to approach this whole thing in a different way. I believe that our town has plenty of affordable housing because all our houses before 1990 do not count toward affordable housing unless they're CHFA and USDA, unless the what's the name? Anyways, when they considered the 10% for our town, they counted every single house, including the ones that we can't before 1990. That's how they come up with that 10%. Now, to me, if they made this law in 1990, they should count the houses built in North Stonington after 1990. To me, that's the fair way. And that's what I've written to the legislators about too. But I get no answer back. I guess it's not an election year. But anyways, that's what I got to say about it. I would like to see the project put down for the reasons that Bob quoted. It's not that I'm against affordable housing, but I only want fair share of affordable housing for North Stonington. Not that we have to build what the state tells us without looking at what our town does for this state, which is provide milk, provide food, provide peace and quiet. And we have homes here. How do we know our 10% isn't filled already? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ryan. So I want to make one quick statement. When I ran for this position and I won this position, I knew, I can't tell you how many people told me you're never going to be able to please everybody. So, and it bothers me when I can't please everybody, but that's something I like to do, but I can't all the time. I will say this, that, yes, I did advocate right through that meeting on that Thursday. If you heard my talk at that podium, I wanted this to go to a town meeting. It did not happen. I'd be doing a disservice not only to myself, but to every other resident if I didn't take all the information I heard and change my mind if I felt it was the right thing to do. Rather than dig my heels in, knowing that I probably was wrong and I now changed my mind would be not the right thing to do. So when you gather more information, you start thinking about everything you've heard, and then you make a conscious decision. It's not easy to come over and say, yes, I said this and now I'm changing my mind to this. Nobody wants to do that, but I'd be doing a disservice to dig my heels and say, no matter what I hear against what I thought, I'm going to stay on that path. And I think that's wrong. So that's the last comment I have to make on this. Do we want to, Nicole, do you have a comment?
Just two things. One, I do want us to remember that very infamous town meeting several years ago now, where we did have a vote, and there were definitely that vote was only voted. Actually, I think if I remember correctly, the first vote was 4. And there was a lot of people or people in the town meeting that were unhappy with that. And they ended up doing another vote. And that's when it was turned down. So I do want to, that was a very odd town meeting. So
I remember that was followed by a referendum too.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So I do want us to make sure in the future that we are, it's only $2,500. Moving it to a town meeting and a referendum is not going to strap the town that much. One of the big reasons that I'm in favor of this project is because it's our people in town that are driving the project. And I feel secure that it would be done tastefully and in the best interests of the town. I don't disagree that there are many, many challenges with the project. But that for me was a game changer. It is not some obscure corporation coming in to put something up on any town land, which we're not going to be able to stop one way or another. But those are the reasons that I'm in favor. I would much rather have our dedicated, there's no doubt, and I know that you both agree, there's no doubt the passion and dedication of Kinsa. It just made me feel so much better knowing that they would be driving the project, people from our town. Lots of hurdles, I understand, to get there. But to Bill's point, where we can put something tasteful, you have to understand the draw of Winterchog for somebody, for a teacher or a nurse or the highway worker. The draw of Winterchog is that they get a little bit of what we all value about North Stonington. If we put it at the traffic circle, if we put it across from Dunkin' Donuts, it's still affordable. It just doesn't have that same North Stonington feel. So I know that there are many challenges, but for me, those are the reasons that I'm supportive. And I don't disagree with a lot of the challenges that you listed. I think that I just wish that things were different.
Yeah, I just want to clarify a few things. Brian, when you said that we should put this down here or this project down, I just want to reiterate, we're not voting to put it down or not put it down. What Bob was mentioning, we'd be addressing overturning a decision of another board, which I don't take lightly. And I haven't seen it done since I've been involved in town politics. In regarding Bill's comments about being in favor of finding a location, I have been. I actually talked to Mary Ann about the Kingswood property and how could we get real test holes done over there, or figure out a way to either say there is a possibility there or no, there's not just, hey, we don't think it'll work there, it might not work there. So I do want to help solve that problem. And regarding the Eastern Pequots, Bill, I disagree with you. I want them to have land and be recognized or whatever process they need to go through, but that would be detrimental to the town of North Stonington and the potential of 8,000 acres that they could take back. And I'm not sure all your information is correct, whether if there's property on there, they can't. There is cases of eminent domain by Native American tribes of property with houses on them. So I think there's a lot at play on this Winterchog location. One thing that one of the members from the public said at that planning and zoning meeting, who lives on the hill, said, since she's lived there, the hill's landscape has changed so much. And we see that a lot in town, whether it's solar farms going in and cutting down forests or developments going in. But I agree, Winterchog Hill, the landscape of Winterchog Hill has changed dramatically already over the past 10 years. And I'm afraid to see what might happen in the future, but there's a lot of things at play on the Winterchog property. We sent it to a town meeting. We sent it to a referendum in the past, and I do agree it's a different project in details, but it's not also just sending it to a town meeting. There's also costs in changing the lot lines or making that a smaller parcel. There's a lot of legal bills in process that would have to be done as we go through town meeting. I'm glad that the cost of a town meeting has gone down, because when I used to ask the last administration, they told me it was upwards of $10,000 for a town meeting and then a referendum to follow. So I'm glad somehow we've reduced the cost of that.
One
Thank you.
reduction is that we had the town meetings at the new town hall, and we have to close town hall. I'm not the town meeting, the referendum rather. So we have to close and pay those employees. That
Alright,
was a big
perfect.
reduction. So, Jen Wellborn, did you have a comment? Yes.
Just need to refute one point. I encourage you to research it with Julie Stavins from Echo. That point that you deny that what I stated is correct. Please look at it. Thanks.
Did you know, Bill, there is a town ordinance that the town has to fight any aggression from a tribe trying to get recognized. So, okay. So we're doing what the town had voted on years ago. Jen, did you want to say something? Sure.
And Bob and Brett, I've listened carefully to everything you've said. And I think one thing that strikes me is in this kind of life that we live, you can take a passive role or you can take an active role. And it sounds like in this case, you're choosing a more passive role. And you're just going to kind of allow things to unfold as they do. But I would encourage you to take action and decide that this is something important that you want to push through because it benefits the town. And not just kind of see where things go, but to decide that this has value and to act because it does. So I would say, please don't be passive. So take charge and take action and move ahead.
And Jen, I think I followed that advice because I was taking a passive role, letting it go on to a town meeting and then referendum, let the people decide. My active role was to decide, no, I've heard a lot about this and I will take action, say I will no longer support it. So that is my action. Thank you. Was there anybody else want to speak on this subject? Okay, so I don't think we have to vote because the Planning and Zoning Commission already voted. We just, unless we voted to move it forward. So unless someone to motion to, should we move this forward to a town meeting? If I don't hear that motion, I assume that we're just not going to move.
Doesn't appear I'm gonna get the support. And we talk about this. We talk about how in the last 2 years, there are times that we disagree. I would make a motion to move it to a town meeting and a referendum. But I'm
Great, thank you. There's
Concerned.
been a motion to move this to override the P and Z decision and to move it to a town meeting. Do I hear a second?
I will second, just to move to discussion, if there's anything more the selectmen want to say. And I support Nicole in a lot of things. This one, I disagree with the final thing, but I will support her motion so we can, if there's anything else that want to be said. Because there's one other thing that I wanted to say regarding this, and that even if this went through planning and zoning, it was still another step of whether we put this out for an RFP for any organization to do for a rental to rent that land out. So it doesn't necessarily mean it would have been Kinsa or it could have been anybody else. But that's a little open-ended to bypass planning and zoning at this point in their decision. And I just wrestle with those members are voted on by the people of the community. It's not a balanced board. It's a board with minority representation. It's a board that you have to get elected to and actually run a race. So in that, when they make some of their decisions, they are acting in the interest of the people that they serve and that vote for them and serve. And you have to listen to everyone's point of view. And I feel like that's what they did then that night. And they're elected to that position in that board. And I really would have a hard time overturning that decision. If they came back and said they'd approve that, I'd be all in favor to sending it to a town meeting because it went through the proper channel. And we did the same process as we did with the, when it was for sale. But we never even talked about overturning that. So that's where I'm at.
Okay, and there's a discussion by the selectmen. Okay, hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of moving this to a town meeting, say aye.
aye.
All those opposed, say aye or nay.
Aye.
Nay. 2-1. Nicole, thank you for making the motion. I appreciate it. I think it was the right way to do it. So, all right. Moving forward, we've asked the chairman of the Conservation Commission, and I see some of his board here, to discuss a letter that was sent to us a few meetings ago from Brian Rathburn. And Bill, I forwarded that letter to you, and I'd love to have you just address some of the points that were brought up in that, and maybe do more explanation about exactly what an enduro trail is, what it means to the town, what the expected results would be. I mean, I got an email today from someone that saw it on the agenda and said, is this pedal bikes or is this motorized bikes? So I think we need some more explanation. So could you do that for us? Steve. So Steve Colgan, you're going to speak for the commission. Thank you. I don't think we do.
Okay, Steve Colgan, Mountain Avenue. I want you to understand what the Enduro Trail is. And if you see this small map, if you look at the southern part in red, that's the part of the Enduro Trail that goes through North Stonington. Okay? And the rest of the trail.
Is that where it says C, the C section?
Right here. No, this small, yeah. Look at the small map.
Oh, okay, sorry. I see it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so this map was developed by the state of Connecticut, the Patchogue Forest. This trail has been in existence since 1970. It's in the control of the state. The town of North Stonington and the Conservation Commission has nothing to do with it. Okay. This is part of a larger map that the Conservation Commission is currently developing. And you can see right here, the Enduro Trail that goes through North Stonington is shown here. Okay. And the Enduro Trail is the only trail that folks on motorcycles can legally ride. Okay. And what we included it on this larger bike trail map just as a public service. There are folks in towns who like to ride motorcycles, and we're just showing them that the only place that they can legally ride motorcycles. If you look on the other side, there's rules for not only the bike map, but the Enduro trails. And if you look at the bottom, it says additional Enduro trail rules. All motorcycles must be licensed and street legal. Okay, so everyone has to have a valid motorcycle license, meaning that those bikes that go on here can ride on any public road. They can go up and down Main Street and be perfectly legal. Okay. In addition, all riders must have a valid Connecticut or another state motorcycle license. Okay. And that's basically it in a nutshell. The rest of the map is under development. It shows bike trails that are suitable for off-road and on-road. What we've done also is include some information on each of the specific trails, specifically how far is the trail, the elevation, and the degree of difficulty. Okay.
So Steve, is the majority of the trail in the state forest and not on our roads, or is it about 50-50, or what would you say?
The vast majority is in the state forest.
Okay. Okay. And these are motorized vehicles that have to be licensed and driven by a licensed driver.
Correct.
So they are just a vehicle of choice for that day, for that person to take that vehicle on this property.
Correct.
No different than if you decide you're going to drive to Rhode Island or Westerly, or is in Rhode Island, or any other state or any other town with a vehicle of your choice, which could be a truck, with a license that you have. You pay taxes to both the town, the state, and the government, federal government. So you pretty much can take your vehicle of choice and go anywhere you want, correct?
Correct.
So the only difference is this is a bike and not a car or a truck. Thank you.
Correct. Yeah.
So nothing's changed since the last time you guys went over this with us. It's just,
Well, I don't think we've ever been here before.
I don't think they did, not to this trail.
yeah, no, they went over this at one of our meetings.
I think.
A while ago,
I
and the same
remember.
questions came
I
up,
think so.
and we went over the same thing. So I just think part of I don't think there's a miscommunication, but there's an issue where a resident thinks that you guys are making these trails. You're not making these trails.
I'll address that.
Right. So I'm just saying it's not new information. We're just reiterating some of the.
Well, I've asked them to
stuff.
come in reference to the letter we received.
Right.
Thank you.
Bill Ricker, right, Wyasett Road. I hadn't planned to mention Brian, but the letter was sent by Brian asking it to be read at a meeting. And although it specifically mentions the Enduro Trail, which you have asked me to respond to, it also mentioned trails in general, the Conservation Commission's mission, and totally unrelated questions. Feeling the need to respond in total, I will read what you have in front of you. The Enduro Trail question and answers were raised by him in 2 past meetings and answered. To answer again, and perhaps clarify for all, as defined, the Enduro Trail is a form of motorcycle sport run on extended cross-country on and off-road courses. Enduro can consist of many different obstacles and challenges. That's a quote from the state. Enduro trails are trails planned by the state, advertised by the state, have been in existence for a quarter century, as Steve just mentioned, and are on the state's website. The town nor the Conservation Commission have any jurisdiction over them. As detailed by the state, all motorcycles who use the trail must be registered street legal. All riders must have motorcycle license. They have to be completely legal for this type of motorcycle to travel on all public roads. Why then, one might ask, do we include them on a map? It was asked. First, they in fact exist. Second, we want bikers to use trails planned for them by the state to give them the opportunity to enjoy riding on a safer route than all over the town roads. There is no expense to the town for this. Then why, the complainant asked, do we plan a bike trail map and indeed any town trail maps without the opinions or comments from the townspeople? First, the townspeople vote for and entrust their elected officials to run the town within certain parameters. Every decision is not, in operating the town, does not get vetted through a town meeting. The Board of Selectmen, in turn, appoints volunteers to fill their boards and commissions with persons they believe will uphold the mission of the board or commission. Persons not supportive of the mission can be asked to step down. None of us have been asked to step down. Every trail map is planned for the enjoyment of the public, has been brought to the attention of the past 3 administrations for their understanding and approval of the Conservation Commission's activities. Every discussion has been included in our agendas. Every action response has been included in our minutes. Every conservation article has been in the quarterly, and it has addressed the major actions and activities of the Conservation Commission, including trail plans to keep our public informed. The complainant's question asked of the Conservation Commission has jurisdiction over our town roads, and that bicycles should be required to have numbered shirts to ride exemplifies this basic misunderstanding of town government. The bicyclists use our roads daily. Bicycle groups frequently ride through town. 12, by the way, day before yesterday. The Conservation Commission is attempting to identify several safer routes, including distance, elevation, level of difficulty, in hopes less skilled riders can choose a trail more to their ability, as well as provide a healthy outdoor recreational alternative. Let me address our trail maps in general, as the critic also has questioned, quote, the Conservation Commission is looking at our town as more of a playland than protecting our open spaces and lands in their natural state, unquote. Well, first, the first map included all our municipal, state, and private organization trails. The second published map, the Historic Hiking Trail, highlights our historic town center on up through Hewitt Farm and the Gallup House. The third map, developed cooperatively by the Conservation Commissions in 4 towns, highlights the kayak canoe trail along the Pawcatuck River from North Stonington to Westerly and beyond. The fourth is the presently proposed bike trail map. Our trails are used by our public daily. No greater use was had than during the pandemic, when fresh air hiking in a non-COVID environment increased dramatically. How do we know the extent of the trail's use? Besides finding them online, hard copy brochures were available in the town hall and library. We copy 100 at a time, and we repeatedly need to replenish the supply. They are used. Why a historic hiking trail? This one was first rejected by this critic because users might get hit on the road. Oh, the trail is used by several middle school and high school classes, guided both by a conservation commissioner, a historical society member, and accompanied by their teachers. We identify the early roots of our heritage. We identify the varied architectural homes and original owners' profession. We show them the old trolley route and why Trolley Lane got its name. We stop at the town hall for a brief introduction by our first selectman to explain how our government works. We stop at the town green and show and discuss the descendant of the original charter oak donated to North Stonington during the bicentennial in 1976. All along the way, we show early photographs from the Historical Society's archives. Our teacher told us after one of the hikes, this quote, "This trail map is really a great guide of the educational history for our students," unquote. The third map is the Quadtown Kayak Trail. The Pawcatuck River, recently designated wild and scenic by the federal government, forms a major portion of our southern border. Our mission designates our commission to protect our water resources. It's a part of our mission. Half the running water in our central and eastern sections of town feeds into the Pawcatuck. We promoted a trail for the public's enjoyment, which was encouraged by the grantors of this designation. Its purpose is to draw attention to this valuable recreational resource and encourage the healthy use of the river. The brochure and signs posted advise users to keep the waterway clean of debris and speaks directly to our need to conserve and regulate our water resources. I remind the public of our mission. Quote, "For the development, conservation, supervision, and regulation of natural resources, including water resources within our territorial limits." End quote. Excuse me, I just got lost. Our other spelled out, published, and well-defined goals to create active, this is a quote now, from the state of Connecticut and adopted by the town for the Conservation Commission, quote, "To create active and passive recreation opportunities about conservation for the community," unquote. Also, to educate the public and promote its understanding through, quote, "increased awareness about conservation," unquote, and by, quote, "providing flyers and newsletters on timely topics." Didn't say brochures. The parents and children have enjoyed our handing out 100 tree saplings to our children with instructions as to how and why to plant trees. This activity, the trail brochures, the quarterly articles are all intended to educate our citizenry on the benefits of our open spaces, as education is clearly identified as one of our goals. Are we attentive to our mission? We're attending. Are we attending to our defined goals? Folks, this we are doing, and we're doing it in spades.
All right, thank you, Bill. Bill, that was a well thought out, written response to the letter that was given to the Board of Selectmen. I think it answered a lot of questions. Is there anyone that'd like to make comment on the Board of Selectmen first?
Yeah, so these are two different subjects that were brought up. First, the mapping, which I don't have any issue with. You're just showing what is available through our state forest program and what the Enduro Trail is. I understand where he might feel that it's advertising to others to come utilize it, but it's already out there. I don't think picking up the map that the Conservation Commission is printing going to change that or increase people from out of town coming here because they put it on a map. The second issue that keeps coming up is regarding the Conservation Commission. And I understand where you talked about your goals and things like that. So those goals, I'm not sure. I guess the one key in that is to create active and passive recreation opportunities about conservation for the community. That might have changed at some point in your commission, but I haven't found that, looking back from when the Conservation Commission was started up until recently, I haven't seen that ever change an ordinance to say that, or change a state statute to say that. So I think that's where some of the confusion lies. It is a board appointed by the Board of Selectmen. And it was created, if you read our ordinances, it doesn't mention that it was it's created by the town of North Stony. We don't need to go into that. The powers and duties, the commission shall have the powers and duties as set forth in General Statute 7-131A. 131A, after you get into how the town can establish this through legislative body, it says a conservation commission shall conduct research into the possible utilization of land of the municipality, and may coordinate the activities of unofficial bodies organized for similar purposes. It may advertise, prepare, and distribute books, maps, charts, plans, and pamphlets as necessary for its purpose. It may propose a greenway plan for inclusion in the plan of conservation and development of the municipality, prepared pursuant to section 8-23. It may inventory natural resources and formulate watershed management and drought management plans. Such plans be consistent with the water supply information. It's a lot. Water supply management plans prepared pursuant to sections 25-32D. It shall keep an index of all open areas, publicly or privately owned, including open marshlands, swamps, and other wetlands, for the purpose of obtaining information on the proper use of such areas, and may from time to time recommend to the Planning and Zoning Commission, or if none, to the Chief Executive Officer or legislative body, plans and programs for the development of use of such areas. It may make recommendations to zoning commissions, planning commissions, inland wetlands agencies, and other municipal agencies on proposed land use changes. It may, with the approval of such legislative body, acquire land and easements in the name of the municipality. I lost my place too, Bill. Including, but not limited to, the establishment of reasonable charges for the use of land easements for any of its purposes set out in this section. It may supervise and manage municipally owned open space or park property upon delegation of such authority by the entity which has supervisory or management responsibilities of such open space or property. It shall keep the records of its meetings and activities, and shall make an annual report to the municipality in the manner required of other agencies. The commission may receive gifts in the name of the municipality. So I'm not sure, and maybe that's where this confusion comes from, where the person that wrote that letter thinks you can just change or allow land to be used for different things, or trails. But that is at odds to your defined goals to create an active, passive recreation opportunities about conservation for the community.
You're saying it's contrary?
Well, that
that?
that you can't just change rules or land use. And I think that's where the confusion is. I think sometimes the other person also thinks that you're changing or creating trails without the authority of
I gave
the
you a
Board of
quote
Selectmen.
that you have not found in what you have just read. The quote is to create active and passive recreation opportunities about conservation and for the community.
Yeah, I don't see that in any
I
state
will get
statute.
it for you and put it
Okay.
in your box. I believe when you came to a conservation commission, we discussed that as well.
I did have all the information on the rules and
And what you
the
have
states
just
that.
read- Have just read in total, we have accomplished every one of those goals except the last one.
So what I'm saying is, somewhere in here in our town ordinance or the state statute, it doesn't talk about these things. And if that is one of your roles and you have the power to do number one, then we need to make that change by going to a town meeting and changing the ordinance or somewhere, because there isn't that. So I'm not sure where you got that from.
From the state recommends what conservation commissions need to do once they are established in an ordinance.
But the statute doesn't correlate to that. So I'm just saying there's something either wrong with the state statute or our town ordinance, because it does not have that part in, and I think that's where the confusion lies.
Just quoted.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Comment, Nicole, you good?
Yeah, I mean, if you read out and really examine to create active and passive recreation opportunities about conservation for the community, I think that people are getting confused with that statement, whether or not it's in our statute or not. They can create opportunities about conservation. To me, that means educational opportunities. It doesn't, I think we're getting really hung up on the Conservation Commission is not going out on their own, creating trails that did not exist. That's not happening. They may suggest, but I think something like that would come to the larger, but I just think we're getting hung up on what it is that they're doing. They're not doing anything that is not clearly stated in their mission
Right.
to me.
I just want to clarify that because it keeps coming out
Yeah.
of what their role is. And I mean, this isn't the first letter we got regarding it. So I'd like to just put it to bed. So
Same.
the letters stop and we have an understanding.
But Brett, I don't know of any trail that Conservation Commission created without coming through the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they did. I'm just reading it. So we have clarification.
They haven't all gone to town meeting, but they have gone to the Board of Selectmen for
Right.
approval.
And then that's in their description. I want to make it clear that they're not, or I have no knowledge of them making a trail and just putting it out there on
Okay.
their own.
So I guess you're basically saying the same thing, you're just trying to clarify it.
Yes.
Okay.
You have no knowledge of what, Brett?
Of you creating a trail out of the blue without discussing it with the selectmen or
Whether it be this administration or the past three administrations.
right. I just think that there was some confusion from the public that wrote the letter. Ryan, I should say. I mean, his name's out there.
Every
Right.
trail, each and every brochure has been brought before the administrations. They have looked at it, they have comment on it, they have seen the draft, and they have given approval to
Right.
proceed.
And I think the Conservation Commission does a great job. Bill, you do a great job with it for all your years. I just want to put this to bed
Sure.
and stop the back
I'll
and
get
forth a little
you
bit.
where I came up with those quotes about
Okay.
our responsibility.
That's the only question I would have.
Will
But
do.
can we ask Brian to come up and just,
Oh, he already has his hand
okay,
raised.
just make
So I was
sure
asking.
everything's been answered so we can,
Brian, you can take the podium if you like. Brian, if you could just, because we've got a long meeting ahead of us, just keep it to a minimum, okay?
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
figured I'd have to be the Lord's. Yeah. All right, anyways, I'm not confused. Thing that gets me is all of a sudden I see a map. You can go down to, all maps can go down town hall, all of a sudden they're there. You don't know anything about it. There was another, and this is just an example of why this one here with the Enduro, it's motorcycles. Now, I had motorcycles going by my house. Haven't for years. I hear them. It disrupts my peace and quiet. Nobody's ever asked me about an Enduro trail. Nobody's asked anybody on Chester Main Road about Enduro trails. They have horses up there. It's quiet. They like that. And yet, this map might be made available to the public without any public knowing about it until they see it down at town hall. What gets me is, yeah, the Conservation Commission is an advisory board, not an authoritative board. goes to Board of, Selectmen. Yes, it does. Some things got passed without the knowledge of other people. Perfect example is the bridle trail on Chester Main Road. Nobody knew about that until I brought up the fact that that was supposed to be just for the people that bought land on Chester Main Estates. That was a big deal. I don't know why it wasn't brought before the town or any of those people were asked about having a bridle trail. I don't know any people that were asked about this except the people that really want it. So I'm going to request that the Board of Selectmen from now on, you got 8 different trails on here. Now they're on our roads, and it's supposed to be bike trails. Well, when you first think of bikes, okay, you think of the pedal bikes. And then you put enduro on it. So basically what you're doing, you're inviting the town, and sure, they can legally ride on a road. How many do? I could count on my hand right here how many times I've seen them guys going down the road on a wheelie. Is that a legal thing? I've seen them standing on Robert Miner's stone wall looking over the fields. They told me a couple of times they've seen, and it was cars, it wasn't enduros going through their fields. So those people should have a say in any map before it hits the town hall.
So Brian, we have people that have licenses and they have registered vehicles, 4-wheel vehicles, trucks, cars. They don't always obey the law. They go through stop signs, they go over the speed limits, they go through lights. It's just, it happens. Okay. So if I'm going to disagree with you with your premise here. If you're doing something that's legal, unless you drive your truck only in North Stonington, if you drive it to Rhode Island or any other place, have you asked permission to drive through Westerly lately or Coventry, Rhode Island or Warwick, Rhode Island? They didn't vote to say you, Brian Rathbun, can drive through Warwick, Rhode Island. You don't wear a number driving through Warwick, Rhode Island. You pick a truck. These people picked a motorized motorcycle and they're doing everything legal. So if it's legal, now you say you had someone standing on a wall. Okay, that's trespassing. It has nothing to do with this. Someone can park their car on the side of the road, which they do across my house, and look at the Longhorns across the street from my house. Some of them are so stupid, they touch the electric fence and then they found out it's electric. But they do, they stop. That's a respect thing. We're not respecting your neighbor's property. But we can't legislate everything, every rule, because the more rules you have, the more they're going to break, especially in today's day. I get so many calls on speeding on back roads, and the speeding calls I get are by cars and trucks, some of them by residents. So it's not, you're singling out an enduro trail that is, you're saying is advertised. Well, I think what Mr. Rick has said is trying to keep them on the safer trails where we want them versus where we don't want them makes sense by having a trail. So I have to disagree with your premise.
You can disagree. It's going to go through the state forest. There's hunters up there. Somebody gets shot. Okay, that's fine with me.
But Brian, I think the point is we don't legislate that. That's not within our jurisdiction.
Some state statutes where we can make a rule of noise. Certain decibel level.
I'd like
to
to,
see that.
we don't have a noise ordinance. I think in the past, we've, not this administration, but other administrations have talked about it. I don't know how we enforce that.
Well, yeah, put it in that.
We could have a noise ordinance that couldn't do music.
I looked up rules for different counties. Lyme has a whole set of rules. Motorized, they have trails, they say, they tell who has the right of way, who don't have the right of way, who are they supposed to yield to when they're out in the woods. I'd like to see that on here. Simply because this, just putting enduro in big bold letters like that is going to be inviting, because they have a place over in Richmond, Rhode Island for enduro people that want to race, want to go and jump and wheelies and whatever else they want to do over there. But I feel that when you put a map out, it says bike trail map, and then inside you write enduro, Rural guys been saying, look at all the trails we can go. We can race down here. We can race up there. We can have a hundred of them coming through North Stonington. They're inviting us there. I don't see that anywhere else.
Brian,
Why are we letting come?
I think where there's confusion is that your beef, your disagreement is not with the town of North Stonington, and it's not with the Conservation Commission. You have a disagreement with what the state of Connecticut has already deemed legal for trails on Patchogue Forest. So I think that's the big difference. We, meaning the Board of Selectmen and the Conservation Commission, can't do anything to fix that. You would have to go and lobby with the state of Connecticut. We don't have any jurisdiction over what you're asking.
Well, why aren't people in town being notified before the maps are put out? Why isn't the Conservation Commission going out and polling the people about these maps that they're producing?
I mean,
That's what I'd like to do. I mean,
Ryan, but
we should
you can't have every
protect that.
commission pull every piece of material that goes out there. I think when it comes down to it is you just are asking for us to say, don't put the Enduro on the map. We can't change that there's an Enduro trail. We can't change any of that. You're just asking for us to say,
I'm
don't put it on
asking-
the map.
I just requested the Board of Selectmen to send some of these things to a town meeting so people can go and vote, yes or no.
But Nicole just said we don't have a vote,
We
Brian.
don't have a vote in that.
He's asking for the maps.
So why wouldn't we want a map that tells
We have
people
a
where to
vote.
go
It's
versus
written
where
on
they
this
drive all over
paper.
town?
I'm not saying that. And I think part of Brian's thing is that, you know, the Conservation Commission doesn't have a say over recreation. What in advertising recreation, that's nowhere in the ordinances or the statutes about the promoting recreation, but they do have the opportunity to provide maps and things like that. So basically, you're just complaining about the map itself. Right.
Well, there's no input from the town, it's all just Conservation Commission, Board of Selectmen. I just recently heard about the affordable housing, where it's only been a few people. This affects a lot of people going by their houses. And I know it's state road, I know what you're saying. I don't agree with the state all the time, you all know that. And I'll argue till my day I'm dead with some of
Right.
the antics people.
So I guess
But
it
I'm
comes,
saying, but we have a say, which should go on this map, and I'd like to see it done and voted on by the people. You have that jurisdiction to do that. You can say.
So what would the vote say? Should we produce a map or not produce a map? Is that the vote? Because we can't say you have a trail or not have a trail.
You have this, they're ready to go out by themselves.
But I think that's doing a service to the town because it's telling people where they should ride instead of riding in wherever road they want, where they should ride.
People of the town, what they think. People are out there like me to think this way.
I don't agree with you.
I live here for the peace and quiet and tranquility.
Is your house on this map, by the way? Is the map going by your home?
They were gone until I went to the state of Connecticut, found out that the map wasn't totally right.
And you changed it? You
I
got the
think
state to change the map?
Connecticut changed. Right up to the state of Connecticut, Patchogue State Forest, they had it drawn wrong. They were gonna go through S minus property.
Okay, so thank you, Brian. I'm not trying to cut you short, but we have a lot to discuss. So I think we've heard all your points. I think that Bill did a really thorough job of trying to answer those. I think we're not going to agree. We're not going to take every legal activity that's legal in town to the town to get a vote when they can't vote on it anyway. So
You vote.
well,
It says right in here, you can send it to the legislative body. Selectmen review it, and they have the right to send it to the legislative body.
to have a map or not have a map, that's all you're asking, not to have a trail or not have a trail.
Beyond that, I want to see some rules. I had a bicyclist, one of the pedal people, come down my driveway.
You know those signs on the telephone poles that say how fast you should drive? Those are rules.
Yeah, I know that.
Not everybody obeys them.
Right, but what I'm saying, somebody came down my driveway today. I don't know
That's a
why.
different law. That's trespassing, Brian, not,
By the time I got out there, he saw me and he boogied as fast as he could.
Right, have you gotten a copy of what they handed out to us tonight? Because there are really clear rules, both from pedal biking and enduro, that I think would make you happy. And this is all we can say on a map. Respect trail and road closures and don't trespass on private land. So it's clearly written there. What they choose to do could get them in trouble, but you're asking for rules that are clearly on this flyer.
I think they gotta have more rules for these bicycles.
And Brian, that's something we can address down the road. I do think it is
I know
nice
you guys are.
that there's rules on here of what the enduro trail rules are. I think there was a reference somewhere to when people do look it up, if you go onto the town or the state website, you can see this as well. So it's already advertised out there. I would say that if all of a sudden a year from now, this maps out and we see huge increase because of the map drew people in, then we could bring it up and address it at that point.
That's really- I'm gonna promise you, I'm not gonna stop like.
Yeah, but I can tell you, Brian, it's that by saying we should send every map to a town meeting or have the people vote on it, where do we draw the line? So does the calendar have to, every picture, does the residents have to vote on each picture? Do the Economic Development Commission, when they put out their trifold about the community, does the whole community have to vote on it? I think at some point, you have to draw the line. Yeah.
Before any map.
no, you can't, wait, listen, you can't say that this board hasn't given you as much time as you've wanted on multiple occasions to speak on the subject as we do on every subject. So thank you so much, Brian. Okay, is there any other discussion on this? There was no vote to be taken. I think we thoroughly discussed the topic.
And I don't think we need to bring this up.
No, so the
Again.
Conservation Commission, thank you so much for coming in and making your statement. Brian, thank you for coming in and stating your point again. Brian, do you have a closing remark? Is that what you're saying?
Just one point, Brett brought up the point that, do we ask everybody who's in the calendar, their permission? Absolutely, we do, if it's a close-up, and that gives me the opportunity to give a commercial saying that our community calendar is now printed and available at the library and at the town hall for $10.
I have already bought mine. Thank you. And it's a nice job on the calendar.
I don't
Thank
know,
you.
Bill. I saw a picture of myself in the calendar that I wish I had had a second time.
Good, thank you. Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Next subject, number 9, call for a special town meeting. We have a town meeting that we'd like to call on December 4th. Nicole, would you do me, or you want to do it? You want to read it?
No, Nicole, I read that whole ordinance or state statute. If you want to read this one.
If you'd like to, if you could just read the call of the town meeting.
So do we need to make a motion?
Yep.
Right?
Okay, so I'll make a motion to move this to a town meeting, and I'll read the exact wording. Warning is hereby given to the electors, and I feel like Antoinette. Warning is hereby given to the electors and those entitled to vote at town meetings of the town of North Stonington that a special town meeting shall be held at the following location on the date and time indicated for the purposes of transacting the business set forth below. Location will be the North Stonington Education Center Media Center at 298 Norwich Westerly Road. The date will be December 4th, 2023. The time will be 6:30 p.m. Only those attending the meeting in person will be able to vote. The meeting will be available for comment and viewing through Zoom at the link below, but those attending virtually will not be able to vote. Number 1, shall the town approve the amended 5-year local capital improvement plan as presented for fiscal years 2024 through 2028? And number 2, shall the town approve an additional appropriation in the amount of $426,153 for the use of partially reimbursable state steep grant funds for improvements of buildings and athletic fields as recommended by the Board of Finance. All supporting documentation will be available on the town website of www.northstoningtonct.gov, and the Zoom link for viewing and public comment only as.
You don't have to read that.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna.
I'll second that.
Signed the Board of Selectmen, seconding.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of moving this to town meeting on December 4th at 6:30 PM, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3-0. Thank you, Nicole. You did a much better job than I would have. All right, Gary, you have a question?
Main Street is on, does not. Capital, 5-year capital plan going to the town.
It's a 5-year LoSiP plan, not the capital
Okay,
plan,
good.
just LoSiP.
I heard the cap.
So is she,
I had spelled it out, look, yeah.
yeah, we're not gonna fool you and send the capital plan through without you knowing it, I promise.
Yeah, we're just gonna skip the Board of Finance and go right to a town meeting there.
And you actually said recommended by the Board of Finance. so- Okay, so thank you, that's done. So speaking of the capital and the 5-year capital plan, we did go on a field trip this past Saturday. Thank you for both attending, as well as I think half the Board of Finance was there. Gary was there, Carl was there. New member, not yet sworn in or not yet seated, is Lou Gingerella was there. And Winona
Winona, yep.
was there also. So I think it was valuable. We need to now go through this capital plan and give something to the Board of Finance that they can start looking at. How is this something we want to look at tonight? How do we want to do this? We have one meeting left between now and the end of the year, which is on the 12th.
I think personally, we should vote on it at our next meeting, but I'd like to discuss a few things maybe now and get some clarifications. as
Sure,
they
I think it's
come
sounds
up.
great.
I don't know. Nicole, what do you think?
No, I think, and I know that Carl and Gary are in the audience, but I'm just a little bit, I'd like some further clarification on just the number that was kind of put out to us. of
So the clarification
500,000.
was, I was mistaken. I said between 500 and 600 is exactly $500,000 is what, $500,000
But
what the
that
Board
came
of
from
Finance,
where?
the Board of Finance.
From the entire Board of
No, one,
Finance?
just
Well,
Gary.
I don't, yeah.
It came from Gary, but they didn't vote on it. So
Correct.
that was the only guidance we have is what was suggested that evening, which came from Gary and Nino, but it was not voted on. It was not voted. No, that's not the right number. Yes, it is the right number, but that's the only guidance we have.
Yeah, I think that that's no disrespect, but I think that our plan should have a range of what we want to move forward. I'm concerned about slashing certain things, not having complete clarification on that dollar amount. I want to be able to move, listen, we talked at our special town meeting at the highway department that we knew that we might have to have a couple of years of catch up of trying to get some of this stuff moved forward and then move into the plan of saving every single year. So I'm just suggesting that we not aggressively cut and move a 5-year plan forward without at least a range of what it all would end up costing.
Yeah, I agree with a range, but I wouldn't go much higher than the recommendation from Gary, only because being involved here and then prior on the Board of Finance and just witnessing meetings for years, I don't think the appetite would be to go much greater than that. I mean, maybe that 5 to 7 that Bob mentioned in the beginning. I don't even think that would be, I don't know how well that would be received there, but I don't think we can go anything more
Well,
than.
not all Board of Finance members voted and agreed on that number.
Oh, I agree with that, but I think when it's said and done in with our tax payers in mind and what could be a potential huge tax increase if we
So I
bite
think-
the bullet on a lot of these now without either having some information that we're going to dip into the undesignated fund to cover some of these things. I think we're just going to be going back and forth if we went in with $1 million ask.
So I agree with you on $1 million, but I also think that at that meeting on Saturday, there was some discussion by Board of Finance members that were there that maybe this should be stretched over maybe a 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, I mean,
Biting the bullet and going higher in the first 3 years, we'll say, to get back to close to where we need to be, and then drop back down to a more consistent number.
I understand that, but that ultimately impacts our taxpayers. And I know we didn't actively have to campaign a lot during the season, but I think I was out there enough and heard it from many residents about the taxes and increases and things like that. So, and just going to the grocery store, we know it's expensive. So we know we're going to have our operational issues on our budget because of costs of items and services. So I think we're going to have to find that balance, but we need to come out of this process with something that we think would actually have
So
some merit.
I agree, but we also don't have a history of the last 2 years, first 2 years of our administration that we did raise taxes in a big way. We haven't. Actually, the first year we came down, and last year we went up a little bit, but still we're not as high as they were even 4 years ago.
Okay.
So
The mill rate might not be as much, but with reevaluation, the tax dollars and the what people are paying, the majority of residents are paying more now.
and
than
those
they
and
were
those that are selling the
with the
homes are
mill rate.
making a lot more now.
That's not who I are representing. Like
No.
when I'm here and I'm thinking about the taxpayers of the people that are living here and staying here. I'm not saying, oh, they did well with their house, so they moved out of town.
So, no, I agree
think
with
we
you,
have
but
to
I
be
think we
mindful.
have to provide service for our residents too. We have to provide, we have to have roads that are plowed. We have to have fires that are put out. We have to provide services. And there's a price to that. So I don't know any town where the cost to do business goes down. The budgets sometimes go down, but I don't know where it costs the town less.
Well, efficiencies cost the town less, and that's one thing we could be.
Do you
working.
find that we're not efficient? I think where we run so tight as it is now, I don't see where there might be nickels and dimes here and there. You think we maybe could have got a better price on something, and I agree with you. But I don't think in the big picture that we run haphazardly and not do things in a way that we try to always keep the taxpayer in mind and the budget in mind. So
Well, I'm not saying we don't do that. I'm just
if
saying
we
that
if we didn't operate that way, we'd have all brand new trucks and we wouldn't have all these issues and.
So as we look at this, and are there certain things that you know off the top of your head now before our next meeting that you are saying, not this year?
Yeah, the generator upgrade for the compactors at the
'Cause
transfer
maybe
station.
if we do that, at least we
Yeah.
can.
So I
So it-
created a new editable file so that we can do changes
Okay.
today. I just ask when you're saying about taking something out, tell me if you're completely taking it out or if we're moving it to another year in the 5-year plan and what year that is. So
Okay.
that this can stay updated.
I would say the same thing about the generator.
So,
So do you want to just
you
go
want to
through the
start from
line
the top?
and say the
Yeah.
keep in for now or take out for now? Actually, take out or leave it. That's it.
So
Or move it.
from the start,
Yes.
so like the loader, I think we break that out. We know we're gonna need it, but we break it down to a smaller dollar value for the next 4 years.
Like over 4 years?
Maybe over 4 years.
So if we do that, we guarantee that once we start that process, we don't take it out. The only
Right.
time we've taken money out that we put aside was when we changed the plan with the
Right.
transfer station.
So change it to $60,000 a year for 4 years.
That's just what I'm thinking as we look.
And I can do
through
it now and I
briefly.
can change it back.
We have the original.
we-
You can do anything you do now, we have the original, so. I'm okay with 60,000 for 4 years.
We think it can, I mean, listen, if it doesn't last 4 years, then we have to dip into the undesignated as a kind of a
And-
break
and-
fix.
And we have another one. It's not ideal because it's at the garage, but
Yeah,
I think sometimes we forget we're a small community and yes, our public works and our employees, town employees do a lot. But I think we can also make things work in a pinch if we need to, and that's the worst case scenario, but the best case, we're doing this in 4 years from now, we have it. Worst case, something happens and we have to readjust.
Yeah. Knowing full well that the 60 times 4 years will not be enough by the
Well,
time we go to
right.
purchase it, but we can deal with that in years 3 and 4.
Okay.
I wanted to ask for if they can provide specs of the items or the vehicles they're looking to buy to us. Can we request that?
I think I do have quotes for
Okay.
all of
Can-
them.
Can you send that to us?
I sent them to Bob, but
Yep.
yes.
Yeah, I can forward them.
Okay. Cause I would, as we look at some of the stuff, I really would like to investigate, can we look at something that's, I know they say it's hard to find, but something that's 3 years old or 2 years old, came off lease, or something that they were using for a small period of time, another entity at some of these major vehicle purchases.
Okay, next, what's the next? The hook lift truck number 17. We saw that was the one that they said if they had to pick one vehicle, that would
Yeah.
be the one vehicle they wanted. So is that something we want to do in its entirety or maybe over 2 years?
That's gonna eat up so much of what we have available. I would, it makes me nervous, but I would suggest dividing it in 2 years.
Yeah, I would say 2 years and look at other options of pre-owned. If it's that emergent too. So that one by 2.
So, yep. 10-wheel plow truck number 3. We can probably get some repairs on that truck and keep that on the road.
You think 4 years?
I don't know, some of the stuff we saw with big holes in the, it's like Barney Rubble. You can see straight through to the, to the road.
And part of that is because we've tried to keep the budget tight and
I
we've moved
know.
this down the road, so.
I know.
But any of those first items are gonna blow up the budget. Correct?
So 310,
So how about 3 years, 100?
if we do 3 years, that's 103, 333.
I could live with 3 on that.
Cause I still think this number is gonna come back high when we're through it all, but I think. Let's see where we can apply. The underground fuel storage, I
I-
think we need to keep
that's-
that in.
Yeah, that's a hard stop for me.
I was wondering if, Bob, maybe you could reach out and, I know the person that quoted on it, the owner, he's a, selectman in, Griswold. Maybe he'd come down and,
Which one is it?
Martin McKinney,
Okay.
maybe he'd come down and explain the process to us and what other options might be, or the cost on
I,
how that works.
so I know, I literally know nothing about this, but I do hear very clear commercials on the radio that say that it's not, when it's time to come out, it's time to come out.
Right.
I'm not sure that we have an option, and I completely trust.
I think the only option is, do we put 50,000 away each year for 5 years? Or do we not put 50,000 away and put 150,000 away 2 years in a row down the road somewhere between now
No,
and?
I'd like to start
I'd
on
like
it
to-
now, but like I said, that's why I thought maybe if he came down, he's the company that quoted, but at least talk to us about that process and does our timeline make sense?
All right, so right now you want to keep the 50 in then.
I would.
I would.
As of today.
Okay, so that means from the highway capital. 353,000.
That's this year.
That's this
So-
year. We're just talking about this year.
So you've now adjusted, so this year would be 353, next year would be 755, the following year would be 600, the year after that would be 600, and the year after that is 253.
Yeah, so so the reason I'm bringing that up, Bob, is because when we look at the dump truck, number 4 for the replacement for next year, 250, is that something that we want to, at this point, break out into a couple years, right? If we're looking at
Right.
that 5-year savings plan, then I think we have to address that 250.
And there's a dump truck a year for the next 3 years, not including the current year. So you have to replace 4 is on schedule to be replaced,
Yeah.
5 is on schedule to be replaced, and 9 is on schedule to be.
And
replaced.
it's those things, 250 a pop each year. It's those things that are going to end up getting cut. So I'm almost wondering if we should take the dump truck for 25, 20. Oh, actually that is. And break that out into the next 4 years, the 25, 26,
Or
26.
just so at least put money towards it. But
Yeah.
then if we put 50,000, we'll say towards it, then the next year we have to put 50,000 to that one and the one below it, truck number 5. The year after that, truck number 9.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what we want to do right now. If we
What
want to do
year
right.
Are you starting the payment on that? Number 4, are you starting?
Can
it
I
next
just have
year?
clarification? The 24, 25, that is what we are deciding right now.
Right, you're gonna be creating the budget for fiscal year 25
But
as,
we,
as a whole.
we're presenting it to them
As a
as a 5-year
5-year yes.
plan. But we
Yes.
need to look at those 5 years and not just look at cutting this year.
Yeah, so I almost wonder if that number 4 dump truck, if we need to put 50 in.
Starting this year. or
Yeah,
next
this year. Granted, that's already up there. Then that's it, highway department, and then nobody gets anything else.
So now we're up
So
to
then what is your
450.
answer for the other 2 dump trucks that need to get replaced after?
I think that we need to start breaking them out. I think, I mean, let's,
So it'd be 50,000 for the one next year, then it's 100,000 because you had 2 trucks the following year, then it's 150,000 because you had 3 trucks the following year. And it's only when you start purchasing trucks that it starts going down. Correct? So do you want to put 50, you want to take the 50,000 for next year's truck to 25, 26 and put it into this year? So we start planning ahead? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, that's what I'm suggesting.
And so then in the dump truck 4 line for 25, 26, are you lowering that to 50,000?
Yeah, that's what I would suggest. So 50 this year, 50 next year. And then 50 for 26 and 27. And that's not the whole amount.
So at
I
that point, you
understand.
buy it in fiscal year 29.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
the
no
ones-
matter what, all these are gonna be pushed out
yeah.
a few years, but
So
at
the-
least they're committed to.
So the ones that he's, saying we need right now, I'm just wondering how many years have we pushed those out, right? So I want to know how many years I'm comfortable taking the number 4 dump truck and the number 5 dump truck and the number 9 dump truck and pushing that out. Because really and truly, the number 9 dump truck that he's slotted for the 27, 28 fiscal year, he's not going to get that until the mid-30s.
I'm opening
But-
up the plan that says what year the ones are that are getting replaced. Just give me 1 second.
But I mean, that to me is a true savings plan.
So that's 4 trucks. I think we run 8. That's 4 dump trucks slash.
But that's all
plow
we
trucks.
have right now, up to 29,
Correct.
right? So I'm sure that there's stuff that needs to be
Yes.
replaced in the future, but we want to put together a 5-year savings plan.
So, you don't want to start all 4 trucks at 50,000 right now. You want to just stagger them.
I don't think we need to start dump truck number 9 in this fiscal year.
But in order for him to get it in 2028, 29, you'd have to almost start it now.
So truck
5.
4, 5, and 9 are all 2007s.
I mean, I think that I would suggest for dump truck 4, we're going to put 50,000 in for the next 4 to 5 years. And looking like he can buy it in 29.
Right, so it'll be 22 years old at that point.
Yep.
So every one of these trucks they're going to be bought 5 years after it's on the.
I mean, if we're truly saving, and then if something happens and it completely dies before then we're faced with an undesignated or
Or a
an
loan
ap-
like we've
yeah.
done in the past. So are you saying, so this year we'll start at number 4 with 50.
Yep.
Then next year we start number 5.
I'm at,
4 and 5.
I don't know, like,
Well, 4 will be this year. So if we start it this year, then it starts this year for the 50 until we get to 250.
yeah,
and then-
I don't think we're gonna be able to afford to start number 5 in this
Right.
year.
I
I
would say
think-
start that next year.
Yeah,
and
I
go
think
out.
that we're gonna have to start that
And
Okay,
then
next
so
year.
plan
truck-
to purchase number 5 in fiscal year 30. I'm just making notes.
Yeah,
And then number 9, I think we have to start 2026,
So
2027.
basically you want to start the year before it's on the.
yeah,
I think at this point, unless we have a windfall somehow,
yeah.
So with
I
that
think we
plan,
need
then
to.
we're looking at, 403,000 for the highway department for this year, correct?
So I'm sorry, you want to do the same thing with number 9, start it in 27 to purchase it in 31?
Yes. So that's what, Bob, 403,000?
Yes.
If we move the 50,000 from next year to this year, yes. Why don't we just keep going through? 'Cause,
Yeah.
you know, because we go through the whole thing and then on the 12th, we have to double back, right? And say,
Right.
we don't know what the final number is yet because we haven't gone through it. So transfer station improvements, $10,000.
Do you know what they're improving?
So those are that's funds that we put in there in case we have to replace doors or
So it's maintenance.
Yeah, it's mostly on a
Okay.
building and
it's,
facility.
it's large scale maintenance. It's not the regular maintenance that has to happen. It's replacing capital items.
And, go ahead.
Other than the compactors, I don't see anything else on.
Can we
transfer
take
station.
bulky waste and lower it because now that we're bringing in funds, I know you can't use those funds directly. But also we've extended the life of the bulky waste pile because we have less people dumping bulky waste.
So what do you want to go down to? 15,000?
Yes, maybe drop it to 15.
For year 1 or all 5 years.
I drop it all 5 years. We're making money on it and less people are dropping bulky waste there.
What's in there
But-
now, Christine?
50,000, but making money
Oh.
on it does not put anything towards it. You still have to
I understand.
actively budget that. those
I
funds.
understand.
Just
So we only
saying, like,
have
last piece.
50,000?
We only budgeted it for
We've
2
only done it for
years.
2 years. We've
But-
talked about it for
Yeah.
4, but we've only done it. for
So the discussions we've had recently where we thought it might be closing in anywhere from 8 to 10 years, now we saw it would seem to be talking more in the 12 to 15-year range because we've extending it.
Right, but we had a drop in bulky waste when we instituted the fees. Now we've had an increase. in
I
fees
heard
coming
Donnie
in.
say that it's kind of picked up a little bit again. I'm okay going down to 15. Just this year,
No.
every year?
Until we feel like we have to bump it back up again.
All right, so, all right, we're going down to
So
15.
for the
for
5-year
whole-
plan, I would do 15 each year. And we can bump it back up if we see there's a big drastic change.
And are we suggesting, or I'm gonna suggest that we take the 10,000 for this year off of the generator and do we want to leave those other 4 years
Yes.
there for now?
So why don't we leave it there for now, but take it off for this year?
I agree with that.
You can also designate the bottle bill funds probably for the generator upgrade up there.
In the
Because
future
it's-
years, as
yeah.
it keeps coming in and getting larger, hopefully. And we've used it already for we'll use money for the transition, but there's gonna be some money coming in when the transition's all paid for.
Correct.
And we can use it towards the generator probably.
Yeah.
And how much is coming in on the cost of a year roughly?
The last payment we got was 9,000 for 6 months.
So we're looking at close to $20,000 a year, so.
Yeah, so you may be able to do this in 2 years without having to fund. So I would take it out for this year, see how the bottle bills continue, and then you can always bump it.
Okay, so we've got 25,000 on that transfer station capital added to the 403, correct? So up to 428.
The computers, how much information do we have on that 14,000?
So when Jim was here, he had a rotation on the computers of getting new computers on, I don't know how many years, it was 5, maybe was it 4 years?
It's every 5 years. We have an influx of computers because of opening the Center for Emergency Services. So the town is responsible for all the computers within that building as well. So I think the 14,000 is an appropriate number. There's some server upgrades that he's finding that are going to need to happen. We have 2 servers at town hall and then all of the computers for everyone.
Okay.
So yeah, since the ambulance and the fire company computers now fall under this budget, that's why it needs to stay at this level.
All right. The
There's no-
land acquisition fund, I would zero that out
For all years.
all years.
Yeah, that's a nice to have, unfortunately not need to have.
And I think we'll reiterate, we've said it every year, is no matter what, to spend any money out of that account, it has to go to a town meeting anyways. So if there was land available, it could still go to a town meeting and come out of undesignated.
In town building maintenance, we have 59,000, say 60,000 now, and we're budgeting another 50,000. Do we want to do that? Do we want to lower that?
Now, what,
We do not currently have 59,000. We had to pay for the hot water heater out of there.
Yeah, we saw
How
that.
much was that?
Over 13,000,
Over what?
13,000.
13.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
And the 50,000 for that was to paint town hall.
So we have about, say, 45,000 left in the kitty from before. So, and even if it costs 50,000 to do town hall,
That you're assuming we will spend no more dollars this whole year on town building
not,
maintenance.
no more dollars, but we have 45, that's need another 5,000 to, at least it's 45,000. I just think that that's a number that it's 20,000 in the following years.
in the whole scheme of things, from a safety standpoint, from a, safety standpoint, from the fire department and ambulance and highway, I just can't see, like, I would probably suggest, do you think that 10 or 15,000 next year is too low?
I don't, because I agree with you. I think aesthetics should take backseat to safety.
Yeah,
and
I think
service.
unfortunately, we're gonna have to put off the
I
painting
would drop that to 25,000.
Okay.
to
I'm just
25.
Going to put out there that you have exposed wood on that building and it's not an aesthetic issue. It's a keeping your asset maintained issue. So I will change it, but I'm just strongly
can get somebody
discouraging you
come
from
in.
doing that.
Dab some paint on the raw wood.
so we're lowering that to 25?
I would like to, yes. And we knowing we have 45,000 left in the line item from the past,
And the pickleball courts can come out.
they can come out.
Unfortunately.
Wait,
Yeah.
Did you say unfortunately?
Well, I mean, I know
No, they did. it,
people
though.
have been,
But we're doing the ones.
oh, yeah,
The
but I thought
30,000
I thought the 30,000, this was a patch in order to do the full. No,
This
No.
was a 3-court, 3
Okay,
very
okay.
playable courts when they're done. And if we couldn't do it, then they were gonna do the one across the street.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
gonna be it was 30,000 to do it at the rec area.
Gotcha. Okay.
The North Stonington Education Center improvements.
So this is a line item to do things in this room and things outside. So whether it's fixing up the building on the outside, if it's updating things inside this room.
I would leave that for now.
Gary, I understand what you're saying, but I would hate to go and have to find a building to do all the things we do in this room, as well as a rental person that's paying good money to the town, and we're providing a service. But it's not a bad thing.
So remind me what we are getting in rent, from her, and is that going up anytime soon
And
for the second
if she
floor?
goes to the second floor, obviously it'd be that many more square feet. So we go up, and more utilities, more percentage of utilities. So yes. So right now we're getting approximately $30,000 plus utility, her portion of utilities.
Which is 12.75% of the utilities.
So if she
When-
goes, correct.
With the steep grant we put in for HVAC, right?
Just for the
Central office, but I thought we put it for here too, because we were unsure what was happening.
We
with
never
this.
got quotes.
No,
We
it's
got-
it's only for central.
No,
office.
but I thought we fixed it.
We did we fixed the heat issue,
Yeah,
but like, I was just thinking we were getting some steep for this.
The
Because
roof.
we had an extra 100,000
Oh, it
we
was
could
the
have went
roof.
for. No, I know we did the roof. But I thought we talked about HVAC, we were waiting for quotes, but I thought
We
we
didn't
were
get
gonna
the
still put
information
that in.
yet.
Cause that's disappointing, cause maybe that could have been used for upgrades to this system to. I can tell you when we came in on Sunday for the farmer's market. People were complaining how hot it was in here, so. knowing that this runs at this heat all weekend long, all day long, all night long, I think we should have something in there to maybe address that. Because over time, that would be an energy savings.
Oh.
I think a big energy savings.
Are we suggesting leaving it at 20?
Yeah, I wouldn't cut it based on,
Okay. I mean, I think for me, I'm gonna earmark it for something that we might have to go back to, but I'm okay leaving it at that for now.
the ambulance. I think we need to break that down.
I think so too.
3 years.
Yeah,
What is that?
Does 3 years work for you, Nicole?
Yeah,
Yeah, so 50,000 a year for the 3 years.
Unfortunately, the turnout gear, the rescue gear, those things that we really can't eliminate.
what is the accurate number though? Is it like 19 something or is it 17 or?
We can have, when the fire company does its presentation, we can try to get that. They're gonna give us a written. Now, they might round up, but you can get the actual.
so let me just kind of go over what we did this weekend. So the tanker is really the new tanker ladder truck that they're forecasting out. No,
No,
this
no.
is something completely
Tanker is
different.
the one we just bought.
We bought it 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh,
So-
so this is what we owe on it each
Yes,
year.
so
Okay.
what we do, what we've done with this and other purchases is we work with a financing company. So the item is purchased outright by them and we are paying payments to them. So this is a 7-year
Okay,
payment.
so that's
on this.
untouchable.
What
Yes.
kind of interest rate were those? Do you know roughly?
I think I have it in the budget. Much better than they are now.
You realize in 2 weeks, we'll have no answers to these questions.
Yes, we will. Bob, you'll be responding to
No,
them
I
all with the
will not.
computer right in front of you.
I'm sure it will be. Maybe you can take that position.
So the tanker was 2.574%.
Wow.
That's so nice.
Wow.
All right.
Not anymore.
The service truck we committed to last year, so I think we need to keep that in there.
And the 75,000 is for the refurb. We put in a partial for that R1 refurb.
Can we push that out? That balance of 200,
We can push it out to 100 and 100.
100.
Yeah, do we have any idea where we're at right now?
Selectmen capital is at 406,970. And the total is 964,970.
I feel like we're not making any progress.
You are though, because we
I know.
start at like 1.7.
I'm gonna
Yes, you
say,
started at 1.7. Like you've made good progress. Keep going.
I think we'll have, yeah, I think we're gonna have to go back to, on the 12th and make some harder adjustments, but at least it's a
Right.
starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't do anything with the reval. I mean, we have to plan for it.
What's the Hearst tool?
Her school is the Jaws of Life.
Oh, that's the Jaws of Life.
That one I'd like to break out 2 years.
I'm afraid that you can say that, but unless we can work a deal where we buy it and pay for it for 2 years and get it sooner instead of later, because the Jaws of Life, according to what I've heard, if they break, we have nothing else we could use. So, I mean, that's how we get people out of vehicles.
But it's like anything else, anything could break. From what I understand, we want to go to the electric version. And a lot of people still swear by the air version, but I don't think it was anything that was not usable still. And I
And
thought they had more than one.
So you're saying,
There's multiple tools. That's not just one tool for 60,000.
would you be able
there's
to give me a printout tomorrow before you head out of where we are current? So we'll have this, we'll have the new one for the 12th. And we can see where we are at that point.
I think the Hearst tools, there were like 4 different ones or something we were buying. So maybe we break out and we buy one this year or 2 this year.
so
2
30,
next year.
30 you want to do?
Yeah, because I know it was more than one item.
So, okay, so now can we talk about the quint that they've got for $1 million?
So
in
that is
26,
something we weren't
27?
gonna budget. That was something we were gonna, I'm planning on having them come in on the 12th to do a presentation on it here at a town meeting rather than, at a meeting with, hopefully with the Board of Finance and go to an appropriation for that, not have it as part of the budget.
But this quint here
Yeah, Nicole's
would be
referring to the,
engine 2 replacement that we'd still have to do. Well, they said in 5 years, correct? So we still have to start planning for that.
Yeah.
What line are we looking at?
That's
So
the quint. But they said,
it's forecasted out just for the 999,000.
But
Right, the
they,
for
but that's
26,
3 years
27.
out. They told us if they got this truck, they'd have it for 5 years.
right, but we'd have to start planning for that.
Yeah, that's what I'm,
And then it's how many, 18-month or 2-year, 4
it
year,
was a 4-year lead.
4-year lead.
4-year
time.
lead time, and you
Yeah.
have to pay the money up front, I think. So realistically, I think the best bet for an ambulance or a fire truck, because they have such a lead time, is to work with some sort of commercial leasing so that you have the money up front, you have your set interest rate, and you know how much you have to put aside. Unless you go for, unless you do any sort of bonding for it. But
All right. So
Well, we can circle,
back.
let's just circle that and go back to it. I
Yeah.
can't wrap my head around what to do with,
And then the sports van, I would take that out for now.
oh, totally.
okay, so now you're down to 859,970.
Right, and I think that's all we can do on this tonight,
So
is my take.
can I just, so the interactive boards, we were gonna clarify where that fell. If that is truly capital or if that's
To me, that wouldn't be considered capital the way I see it.
it would,
It would not be.
and I
I think that's
agree with you.
educational, and yes, it's mounted to the wall, but
Yeah,
it's
so
not
let's
how we
just
look
put a
at it.
question mark around that so we can talk about it. And I don't know, a maintenance shed, like, to me, should we take,
I mean, that's down the road, I guess.
It's 2 years from now, but we don't need to address it right now, I don't think.
all right, so where did that leave us if we take the sports van out?
859,970.
And actually, why can't we take the tunnel out? Because, we're getting, I'm gonna meet with the
Oh,
buildings.
that's right, you were gonna,
So we meet with the building inspector. I saw him last night. He's gonna get over this week. He doesn't think we have to worry about ADA. But he
Right.
thinks that I have to see what improvements and get quotes on what do we do to just, what do we need to do? We need to fix the stairs. What does that cost?
Right.
I don't know what that costs. to just
So
do-
I think we leave it in till we find that out, and then
I
we could
think-
lower it.
You take it out, and if anything, you increase back to town building maintenance capital, because that's town stuff. You can take it out of that. So you don't have to create a whole separate line. You can just include it in that. And if you can afford to do it this year, do it this year.
it's current,
Right, so
it's,
the money would be,
so the town building official is gonna tell us whether it is safe and usable right
Well,
now.
He was gonna look at it and let me know what he would like to see done with it, but he doesn't think that anything we do is gonna we don't have to comply with
To
ADA.
bring it up to new codes and stuff like that, okay.
So if you take that
So we're taking it
15,000
out.
out, that brings you to 844,970. And I will email this sheet to the three of you, and then it'll be saved in the team drive.
can you email that in the changeable form?
I'm gonna send it as an Excel, yes.
Okay, perfect.
Because this is gonna be your job in 2 weeks. We'll let you here 3 weeks.
What did you say?
Oh, to
It'll be
change the
his job in
spreadsheet?
3
Right.
weeks. Look how they keep the spreadsheet going.
All right,
All right, so I think that's what we should work. That's all we need to do tonight, I think, as far as that goes. And we'll meet on the 12th.
I know you guys feel like you didn't do a lot, but you made great progress on it.
You know, it's
I just don't know
I
what
agree.
else is
I
gonna be
agree
able
with
to
you.
come out safely.
well, if we cut 400,000 out of our operational budget, we're good.
how we're gonna do that. We could just have a town hall with just me,
That's right.
nobody
Hey,
else. I could do all those.
They did it
jobs.
years prior, right?
Different world, different time.
All
Okay, so let's go to old business. Not gonna, nothing to report new on the demo at this point.
We have no updates?
Kind of, yeah. So they did accept, he did accept my offer of dropping $100,000 off what actually turned out to be $140,000 of what his original bill was. We got that down to from 347 down to 294, and we went in with an ask of 195, which would use ARPA funds but no taxpayer dollars in addition. Took him about a week to get back to me. We came back and said, I'll accept that. I'll accept your offer and I'll do the 195.
So that's using every
It's
dollar that we dedicated.
It's every dollar we dedicated of the million. And then also the 90,000 left in the undesignated ARPA funds. So ARPA funds we have that we have not
Oh,
put towards
okay.
anything. So that would wipe that out.
So when do we have to vote on that?
We don't have to vote to it yet, so I want to put together a presentation and to bring to the Board of Selectmen, then to the Board of Finance, and then to a town meeting. So I'll probably have I think I'm gonna do a PowerPoint presentation on that, where we started back in 2020, what the bids looked like then, what was included, what wasn't, what the bids looked like in this past project, and what we ultimately are paying versus what we could have paid it with any other building. Basically what we've done is to get the town wanted the building down. We brought it down. I think we brought it down for about $250,000 less than any other bidder, including the ones from 4 years ago. But I want to be able to tell that story and make it easy to understand. But the good news is that I don't have to go back to the Board of Finance, who then has to go to the town meeting to ask taxpayers for additional monies.
Okay.
So is it a win? I think when you look at the whole picture, I think it is. I think if I get my numbers right, I think we end up paying about 1,170,000 versus the lowest one I can find by any other bidder that included everything was like 1.3 and change.
Okay.
And those people will argue that we shouldn't have taken the building down, left it up. But what would that have cost us? And what we would have done with that space, if there's people, nobody here, but if there's people arguing that why we have this space, what would they say if we had that space too?
So, but we have to go to a town meeting if we're gonna need to take the rest of the 90,000 that's in the
We
ARPA.
have to go to a meeting by way of Board of Finance
Yeah,
first.
Okay,
That's why I just don't want to tell the story without having my facts and figures in front of me and something to present on the board.
Okay.
Vacancies and appointments. We do have quite a few of these. So I have not heard back from you at Farms, so we will not do them this evening. Good.
We need to appoint them tonight.
Yes.
Okay. Can I ask that next time we have this done, that we get it in ahead of time in the email for like in our
Well, I can
packet?
tell you who all the people are.
But even with reappointment, it's still an appointment. I would just like it ahead of time.
So there's not going to be many changes, but we start with Alan Ladd, the tree warden. He's up for reappointment.
Alan Ladd is up for reappointment for what?
Tree warden. He's our tree
Oh.
warden.
That's good.
So moved. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor of reappointing Alan Ladd as the tree warden, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
I think that's great.
3-0.
I did not. know
Secondly,
that.
SCWA, there's Nick Mullane, which we are not going to appoint tonight because as he mentioned to me, he's actually appointed by the Council of Governments, not by the Selectmen. For his role with SCWA because he's on the board. There's two people on the advisory, which is Mike Messina and Bob Boisavane. They've been on for a number of years. I've spoken to both of them personally, and they both want to be reappointed. They only meet maybe 2 or 3 times a year. So Bob Boisavane, who's also on WPCA, but they're knowledgeable. They've been on the board for a number of years, and they both are willing to be reappointed. It's a 3-year term. So can I hear a motion for that?
Motion.
I'll second.
Okay, both their terms expired actually on September 1st, so they're past due. All right, so we have a motion and a second to reappoint Bob Boisavane and Mike Messina back to SCWA. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 3-0. Water pollution control. This is all members serve 2-year terms. we're not in reappointing the entire board, only those that got back to me. And I'll tell you who those are. So, Bob Boisavane, Carl Johnson, and Robert Snellgrove, who we appointed last year. And and that's it. We have some other people interested in joining the board, but they have not brought their applications in. I've not heard back from Brad Courier, and then I have not heard back from Andrea Sadowski. So
I'll make a motion based on the ones you've heard back from to reappoint.
I'll second.
okay, so all those in favor of reappointing the three people I mentioned, say aye.
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 Bob, what were we looking at for Beth?
So I sent her an application and I asked her if she'd be willing to be on WPCA. She said she's thinking about it. She's leaning towards being on it. I'd like to have her added. I mentioned to the WPCA board, I was at their meeting last week, and they'd be more than willing to have her come on board.
Okay.
And then we have another gentleman, if for some reason Brad does not come back, there's another gentleman named Jeff Bennett who approached us to be on inland wetlands and WPCA. He's an engineer. He's got background. So I'd love to have him on also, but I can't do that unless somebody else doesn't come back.
But
Gotcha.
we, right, as of right now, those others didn't come back. So I think we can move forward if the other applications come.
One of them is a health issue, so I want to wait.
But it's also attending meetings, things like that, right?
Well, that person goes to all the meetings. It's just, there's an issue right now.
It's,
There's also no formal application received from anyone else to join the board.
Yeah, Beth has not, nor has Jeff.
okay.
Put an
It's
application.
nice to know that there's interest.
Yeah, finally. It's a 5-person board. Right, so we got that. Rec Commission. So the Rec Commission did, I get a letter from Tom Fabian. And he would like to have these members reappointed. James Holdridge, Megan Perkins, Emily Mastriani, Lori Umflett, Matthew Brunel, Michael Stock, and Heath Dugas.
I just want to say, Jim Holdridge Jr.
Jim Holdridge Jr., correct.
All right, and just, that's great. I just think if we're asking the commissions themselves to let us know if they want to be back on, it should come from the commission and not from
Why?
Tom. Because technically,
He had a meeting,
The
he asked them
commission.
at the meeting, they told him and he told me. So instead, I said I need it in writing, he gave it to me in writing, so, but why would you?
because he's the employee of the commission, so it should go through the chair, I think.
Oh, I understand that, but I asked to have him give it to me in writing, they must have decided at a meeting. I mean, I don't get your point, but you're saying technically because it should come from the chair?
Right, I
But
mean.
but that's
years
one of the
ag-
people who are reappointed.
Years ago, we didn't even ask the commissions because they're an appointed board, so it's up to the selectmen whether they put back or not, so they didn't. I worry sometimes when we do ask the boards, if they don't get along with the other board members and there's an issue, but I just think when it comes to this, in like the rec commission, it should come from the chair of the members that don't want to be on there, that's all.
Well, it came from the members to the
It
director.
really doesn't matter, it's
The,
just point
the
of,
chair and the
the
staff
process.
person were contacted that this was coming up.
okay.
If there's someone that we don't want to reappoint, just let me know that, but. Anyway, so that was the recommendation from the rec director. So I'll entertain a motion and
See, that's where I have my issue, the recommendation from the rec
So
director that works. for the rec
at
commission.
the,
misphrasing, it's a confirmation from the
Okay.
rec director that it was discussed at a meeting and all of the members would like to be
yeah,
reappointed.
he
All
didn't,
right,
he
I
didn't,
appreciate it.
he didn't do it
spoken
on
like
his
that.
own. It was at a meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we hear a second? Nicole, you second that?
Yeah,
Okay.
most definitely a second.
Okay, all those in favor of appointing the rec commission as announced, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 3-0. Tree wardens, and we're not gonna do your farm because I reached out to Ed, who is the chairman, and he has not got back to me yet. And I don't want to appoint people without them telling me they definitely want to be on. ARPA fund update,
Wait.
will,
You have one,
did I miss somebody?
red resignation.
Oh, I do. I have one resignation that will actually open up a spot on inland wetlands. We have a written resignation by Mark Perkins Jr. hereby resigned from the town of North Stonington zoning board of appeals effective immediately. We already did the that ones last week, so. Mark Perkins resigned from the zoning board of appeals. Reason being, he got elected to planning and zoning. He can't be on both.
Gotcha.
So we had to get it in writing and make it official, which
Okay.
he did.
And they appoint that position, planning and zoning.
Do what?
Planning and zoning appoints that position.
He's
Planning
resigning.
and zoning,
Planning and zoning appoints zoning
Uh,
board of appeals?
yes,
I thought that was an elected position.
it is, but they fill the vacancy.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, whatever. I'm not planning on trying to fill it. So
No,
he's
just clarification.
clarification. Got it. Okay. ARPA funds update and discussion. Nothing at this point, but we'll probably have a big change in that coming up. And planning conservation development, I just said that Juliet's working on it. We'll probably be looking for an extension. She sent out the draft to P and Z members. As well as I think we all received it too, didn't we? Okay.
Yep.
Any public comment? Public comment? John, did you raise your hand? No, you're not sure? Maybe? Judy? Come on, darn it. Everybody else said something. You might as well say something.
Is this on? Okay. Judy May, Norwich Wesley Road.
Is it on? I don't think so.
I think so.
Hello.
Yes.
You guys got put through the ringer tonight, and I just want to say, a lot of people out here had their opinions, some strong, some passionate, but we think you guys do a great job.
Well, thank you, Judy.
Thank you. I'm glad I coached you into that public opinion, public comment rather. All right. Our next meeting is December 12th. I'd like to cancel our meeting on the 28th because we're having this special meeting this evening. I also have a conflict that evening. But next meeting will be December 12th. And other than that, I had a motion for an adjournment. I wish you all in the audience and here happy Thanksgiving.
Same.
And town hall will be closed on Friday, as we know. I did talk to Carl today, and I've officially booked that Friday before Christmas for the town hall / highway garage Christmas luncheon. We did it the
The
brewery last
22nd.
year, 22nd at 1 p.m. So last year we went from 12 to 1 and went back to work. This year, what I'd like to do is start it at 1 and not go back to work. That way, if somebody wants to buy, we can't buy alcohol. You can do food and soft drinks, but if someone wants to have a beer or a wine, they don't have to worry about going back to work.
Okay.
And Carl said he could accommodate us. We'll talk more about the menu and so on. Okay. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn at,
I'll second that.
so motion to adjourn by Brett at 8:57, seconded by Nicole. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank